Hello friends, this is Lisa. I'm here with the Essential Whey group, which is headed by Gabriel and Jeanette Castellino. We're so excited you're here tonight. Tonight we're going to be going over an important topic, and it's called Fact versus Fiction, and we'll be talking about some questions that we've been getting about different essential oils. So we're so glad that you've joined us. Thank you so much for being here. The Essential Whey is a community of people who use essential oils and nutrition to boost our health. So we're all independent distributors of Young Living essential oils, and so you can learn more about these products at youngliving.com. Tonight, we're not going to take the time to really go over the basic essential oil usage or safety information. So we've covered those things in past classes, but if you're new to oils, we would really encourage you to either get in touch with us or talk with the person who invited you to the class. You can also visit our YouTube channel to watch the Essential Oils Crash Course class. So I'm here with Jeanette Castellino, and she'll be answering the questions in just a minute. But before we go any further, I just wanted to read a little disclaimer from the FDA. The information that we're going to share tonight is intended just for the purpose of education. Young Living products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, mitigate, or prevent any disease or condition. None of the information has been reviewed or approved by the FDA, and it's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, mitigate, or prevent any disease or condition. So please consult with a healthcare professional if you have any questions. Once again, maybe some of you are just joining us, just getting on. We're so glad you're here. We just wanted to direct you to our website, which is theessentialwhey.com. And we have lots of information there. You can also go to the events page and you can find the link to the Facebook page. If you're joining us on YouTube, the link to the Facebook page is there. And that's where we'll have question and answers. And then at the end, we'll be doing a giveaway. So please be sure to visit us in one of these places. All right, now that we've gotten a few of those details out of the way, once again, we're just so glad you're here. So please do hop on Facebook and say where you're from, maybe. Tonight, I'm really excited that I actually get to have Jeanette Castellino in the same room. So last time, where were you last time in the class?
I was in Asia.
Okay, Asia, and I was in Indiana, so this is a treat.
Yes, me too.
We were just eating some chocolate together before the class, so that's great. But tonight we have a really important topic, so we'll pretty much just dive right in. But recently we've been sent some questions and some different articles that people have found online, or maybe people have heard from some questions from their friends or whatever. So we just wanted to make sure that those things are that we're addressing some of those questions that people have been asking. We love questions. I'm constantly asking questions, and you can always tell when a person is asking it with the intent to learn, or if they're maybe asking from a different purpose to be belligerent or whatever. So especially when people are coming with humility and with that desire to learn, we really appreciate it. So thanks to all of you who do send those questions. We really like it. So Jeanette is going to give us some different, just kind of give us a summary of a way to approach the different topics and questions that we get. And then she'll also go over some of the specific things that have been said in articles. So I'll read some things that we've received and then she'll address them. So
Sounds
Jeanette,
good.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just want to put in a nutshell, when we read or come across articles or links, there's truth and there's also twisted truth to facts, but because of the wrong starting point, both of which I will be addressing. Then perhaps there's an author who has a heart to warn others but of dangers, but is poorly informed and is drawing conclusions based on misinformation. Then there are some glaring inconsistencies. For example, I read an article recently warning readers in a statement that essential oils are harmful. Then why is the author of the same article selling essential oils at the end of that article that I read? Or the author is asking, why would you use use essential oils and not go to a doctor. And a few paragraphs later says you are better off just praying and waiting for healing. So what's the point of all of that? Either way, we are not. We are putting limitations not only on others, but also putting God in a box. God Himself has done healing in many ways. Just remember, it's so easy to pass judgment on others. Let's pass judgment on ourselves first. It is so easy to also use anything for good or for evil. You can use a knife in the kitchen or use it to stab someone. A computer as a tool or for perversion. Herbs as a tea or for healing, or in witchcraft. So also with essential oils, they can be used properly or they can be used for purposes that God did not intend. So as Christians, why do we have to be afraid of using something that God made so well? Notice how people talk. Is it out of fear, or that is unfounded fears, or is it based on facts? Now, if we don't have all the facts in, um, and so that might also hinder our understanding. So it could be scientific or any other fact, but it's not fair to pass judgments, I feel. Will the Lord God want us to be walking in confusion, or does He want us to walk in confidence? So and in time He will make things clear.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And so that's kind of a good little background of what we'll be covering, and that's a great perspective on just how to view anything that you read on the internet. So I know one thing my mom always likes to say, she says, the page will lie still for anyone to write upon it. And I think with the internet, that's all the more prevalent now because it's so easy to publish it. But so here's an article that we got, just an excerpt. So the author says about essential oils, quote, you need to exercise caution when using essential oils because improper use can be dangerous. Use essential oils and reap the benefits they offer while safeguarding your health.
It's very true, but only for essential oils that are commercially or synthetically made. And those are usually run through solvents, which are petrochemicals. So that makes it toxic. And even if it's not passed through solvents, they could be high steam or pressure could be used that renders them therapeutically useless.
Okay.
And those are sold as perfume grade oils, and they will cause problems. There are many specific examples I can give of people who Young Living members, and when they ran out of a Young Living oil, went to the store and bought, for example, a lavender oil, and put it on their burn, and it burned them even more. And another person had, using a synthetic oil, it perforated their eardrum. So one dead giveaway of a commercial grade oil is it will say on the label for external use only.
Yeah. Yeah, when I worked at Whole Foods Market, that was my first introduction to essential oils for all those years. And sure enough, the oils that I would get there, they all said for external use only. So back then I didn't know any better, but I'm so grateful to have discovered that there's a different option. So, but great. So here's another quote that we got recently. The author says, while it is of course true that ingredients, plants, and herbs found in nature can offer you wondrous health benefits, these natural world remedies must always be treated with utmost respect. The first thing to remember is that what works for one person may not work at all for another. How should we approach that?
Yeah, I agree. I would add not only respect, but also common sense. Because as with all things, common sense is needed, and you would not swallow a whole bottle of Young Living essential oil, even if it's of a good grade, good quality, and which they are, when it's not required or necessary. Sort of, even a child or an adult, if they did for whatever reason, they may go through some discomfort, but they won't die from it.
Okay. Yes. Okay. kind of along those same lines, the author said essential oils can interfere with any medications that you might be taking, as well as having other side effects. Keep in mind that natural does not necessarily mean safe. And then he goes on and says, something as seemingly harmless as peppermint essential oil, for instance, has a long list of drug interactions and medical contraindications. If you're taking multiple prescription medications, the chance of a drug interaction with essential oil increases exponentially. Is that fact or fiction?
Well, the Young Living essential oils, they do not interfere with medications in a sense. But what they will do is they will boost the body's ability to do what it's designed to do, which is a good side effect. And our bodies are designed to be healthy, and they do receive, once they receive what they need, and then they can function without the unnecessary aids.
Okay.
And essential oils always work towards maintaining normal levels of function in the body. There are other side effects. Sometimes a person may develop a rash from even using a true therapeutic grade oil. And when I say therapeutic grade, I want to be clear that an essential oil that has all the compounds that are very close to what exists in the plant itself, including trace minerals, that's what's a true therapeutic grade. So it shows, when a person has a rash, it shows the state of that person's blood. That could be acidic because of toxins. And if that happens, all they have to do is just dilute the oil, the essential oil, with a carrier oil like coconut oil, and use the essential oil more sparingly. And as their body cleanses, then they become less acidic. And then they can resume using the oils again regularly.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense, because I had that experience several times as I was getting into essential oils and starting to use really high quality essential oils from Young Living. Even the pure lavender oil, sometimes I would have a little reaction, but then as I cleansed, now I use those all the time and it's not a problem. So that to me shows that I went through some of that cleansing, hopefully. So similarly, kind of another thing is, what about using oils internally? So this article, another question that we got, said that unless an essential oil expert is your consultant, then it's best not to use essential oils internally. It's only use them in the traditional aromatherapy sense instead of swallowing them, because they're highly concentrated and can be toxic when consumed. Is that fact or fiction?
Well, I could agree that only if this is a synthetic oil.
Okay.
But I've been using Young Living essential oils for over 18 years. And even throughout my last pregnancy and for the well-being of my baby. This is at a time when doctors and nurses were trying to give her some medication at any irrelevant excuse, and she had nothing wrong with her. So I'm one who is very allergic to anything that's synthetic, and my body can tell also when something is not natural. So for me, it was very important to find something that's very pure, and very thankful to the Lord for bringing Young Living into my path, and not only Young Living, but they're the world leaders of the purest of essential oils.
Okay.
So using Young Living and with children and babies is very common among health professionals who advocate using the essential oils properly and with little ones.
Okay. What about when taking them internally? Should you take any of them internally, or do you just need to be, are there some that you wouldn't maybe do internally?
I would not put oregano oils in my, I like that. It's a good question, but there are some oils that are pungent, like oregano, so I wouldn't put that directly in my mouth.
Cinnamon.
I would. That could also be another pungent oil. So I would dilute and put them in a capsule and swallow if that was the case.
Yeah.
And I use some of these in cooking, so it's quite safe.
Okay.
So if anytime a person is doubtful, they can use the carrier oil, in a capsule.
Okay. Great. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I do like using essential oils internally as well. And I find different health benefits that way. So I really do like that. But what about, here's another question. Kind of, you did touch on this about using the essential oils with babies and children. So this author said the consumption or use of essential oils on babies or toddlers is out of the question, and caution must also be exercised in regard to older children due to the possibility of an adverse reaction. So sounds like,
yeah, the adverse reaction you'll get with the synthetic oils. So you don't want to do that, use those. And like I said earlier, it's very safe. I used them in my pregnancy, and I used it on my baby, and she's now 18 years, and she's doing fine, and it's very safe for children and babies, for you to use essential oils on children and babies. But use common sense to dilute when they're very small infants, and you'll be okay.
Yeah. There's also some great books available.
Right.
So we always do recommend, do your research. Don't believe everything you hear right away. Read some good books. Talk to some people that you trust, and so
I was just
let
going
us
to
know.
say that.
Oh,
You read my mind.
Or I read your notes. One or the other. But yes, anyway, sounds good. We both like books, so it's true. Okay, what about applying essential oils directly to your skin? So when this author said it's crucial to dilute any essential oil with water before using it. Direct contact with the skin can cause anything. And then it says, last but not least, certain kinds of essential oils, such as bergamot or lime, can cause photosensitivity, or like you can be more sensitive to sunburn with photosensitivity. What do you say about that?
Well, the first part of that statement does not apply to young living oils. Dilute only if there's a reaction, in case the blood is a person's blood is too acidic from toxins.
Okay.
But there are the citrus oils and bergamot their composition is such that they maybe cause photosensitivity. So you don't want to use in exposed areas of your body. So again, the reference books do talk about that and cover cautions. I have personally done massages, by the way, using Young Living essential oils in my family and dear ones, and even helped others to do massages for their loved ones. And their breathing was improved.
Okay.
And they said they've never breathed like that in their whole life. They felt wonderful. And some didn't even get a massage, but they would just smell it or apply it topically, and they got the same results. So, I've never heard anybody saying that their breathing got adversely affected using Young Living oils.
Okay.
So do your own research. There's the PubMed.gov, Gov, PUBMED.gov, and other websites like Dr. Mercola and other holistic websites. You can look up on topics on vaccines and medications, and including over-the-counter medications that cause seizures and breathing problems and many other side effects. And research records thousands of deaths annually from properly prescribed medications.
Okay, I feel like I have to repeat that. So the thousands of deaths annually are coming from properly prescribed medications.
That's right.
Okay, really? No, we all know that's true, but that is a fact, unfortunately. So, okay, very, very good point. The other thing I wanted to mention is that essential oils shouldn't be diluted with water, because water will actually force them into our skin. You know how oil and water don't really mix. So if you ever feel like you need to wash an essential oil off, use an oil. Like you mentioned, don't use water, because that can sometimes intensify it.
That's true. That's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Right. But just anyway, yes, keep that in mind. Here's another quote from an article. It's, quote, when consulting an aromatherapist, be sure to research where they were trained, how much supervised practice they've completed, how much class time they've had. In other words, do your homework before taking the advice of someone whose legitimacy as a practitioner is doubtful. End quote.
Well, most aromatherapists, they use commercial grade oils and are not well informed of their training.
Okay.
If their training was based on commercial grade oils, and all European aromatherapy books do give information based on those synthetic commercial grade oils, and they will have those warnings. So the last sentence that you referenced will be tough to follow, and the practitioner's starting point is different.
Okay. Right. Okay, he goes on and he says, read aromatherapy books, watch videos, and take classes to become as well informed as possible. It is appropriate to do so because essential oils are potent medicines that are not to be taken lightly.
I agree, especially if it is with, if those who know their stuff, like Gary Young, and he has been training others who once thought they were experts, like the lavender growers in France and other countries. They've openly admitted that, and took feelings that they once thought, they used to make fun of Gary, and they said, we've learned now to keep our mouth shut and learn from him, because he has so much, he knows so much that they didn't have no clue about. And in another country, they mentioned, a distiller mentioned, Gary came just in time, and if he wasn't there, their distiller was going to blow up in a few minutes. So he does know his stuff.
Okay. All right. This author went up, and in this article, he says essential oils cost $1.25 an ounce and up.
I want to say, when I hear that, like, what kind of oil, or what would you get for an oil at that price? To me, an oil that has such a low price can be cheap in every way and toxic. So if you don't put water and gas in your car, why would you want to put cheap oils into your body?
Right. Yeah. So I guess the summary is that you need to find things out for yourself and do your research, and then recognize that truth will prevail. So if you hear things that don't seem quite right, then feel free to keep researching and make sure that you are really on the right track there. So
that's true.
Okay, let's move on to the next section. But how do we handle certain lingo with which we're not familiar? So what do we do with different words that sometimes when we're researching things in the aromatherapy or essential oil space, we bump into words that I don't always understand. What should we think about that?
Yeah, I used to be one to jump on certain words that people used and either stereotype them or feel like I don't have anything to do with them. But hopefully I've matured and in my thinking have learned. And I'm still learning to think in a more balanced way. Does that mean I throw caution to the wind? No. I just ponder over things and wait on the Lord, Jesus, who is all wisdom, to help my understanding. But I do relate to those of you who are uncomfortable with certain lingo that Young Living uses in their description of products. And for some, it could be words like healing or harmony or energy, visualize. In my previous class on emotions too, I've covered some of the examples. And I think we'll always be learning bits and pieces to add to our understanding, because there's so much to know. Hopefully this will help you, because we've pulled out some of these words from articles that were found all these words objectionable.
Okay.
Here's what helped my shallow thinking when I discovered sometimes people do get affected negatively because of emotions from bad experiences attached to those words.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a matter of semantics.
Okay, so it's like some of the words, you mentioned some of them, but like what about the word healing? What should we think about if they say it is something from nature can heal?
Right. I do believe all healing comes from God, whether He just speaks a blessing over someone or heals with herbs, tinctures, teas, whatever. And or even if a person chooses to dip themselves in a hot spring, a mineral hot spring, the Lord has given liberty and inspiration for to those who seek Him for healing. And some choose to go to a doctor, whether it's holistic or medical. Others just pray for healing. It's whatever God directs you. We have been designed to heal. That's, to me, the most important thing to note. And the glory goes back to God because of that fact of that design for our bodies.
And yes, all right. Well, another word that we might encounter is the word harmony. Can something from a plant bring us harmony?
When we read that a true therapeutic grade oil like Young Living's works in harmony with the body, it means they work to maintain healthy levels of function in the body. Eventually, I'm quoting this medical doctor, eventually medicine and humanity will come to terms with the fact that healing comes from within, that as doctors, the clinics and the medications are the ones that facilitate the process of healing, so it doesn't belong to us. Another word is energy. There are all kinds of energy uh, all matter has energy. There's physical living energy. Some days we may be tired. Other days we are full of energy. There's biochemical and chemical, electrical, hydro energy, and so on. If there's energy, there's vibration. There will always be vibration. You can talk to sound engineers, geologists, physicists, and other specialized ones in the scientific field. They will all tell you that all matter has energy. Some inert and some referred to as energy in motion, and so on. It was neat to hear a music researcher who did a talk, on music in the mind, and he talks about a lot about that in that field. Even farmers, when they grade their produce, it's measured in bricks, and the energy from the sugars is what gives them their grade, to let you know how alive and healthy their produce is. So accordingly, they give them A grade and B grade, whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And maybe as you pull up a slide about this definition on vibration, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. At the most fundamental level, the universe and everything which comprises it is pure vibratory energy manifesting itself in different ways. The universe has no solidity as such. Matter is merely energy in a state of vibration. I want to point here that matter comprises of molecules, which in turn comprise of protons, electrons, and neutrons. And all these are moving, they're not stationary. I am aware that some do different kinds of energy healing, but we're not talking about abstract stuff here. If we put things in the right perspective, whatever I use, and if it has living molecules, it will boost my health. We eat live foods, which are full of living energy, not dead foods, to give our body the energy it needs to function. So, do you see what I mean? So I feel that when it is all in its natural created form, why be afraid of those things?
All right, so that was the word energy, and we talked about healing and harmony. Another word that we sometimes run into is the word visualize. What about the word visualize?
That word can be interchanged for many other words, and we sometimes, not sometimes, we use it quite often in everyday life. The word imagine. Imagine if we had a chance to go to Florida. Wouldn't that be great? Or if you're not paying attention to me, I could ask you and you may say, oh, I was just daydreaming, wondering what my children would say. Well, I know you're not
Yeah, I'm visualizing my children.
But they came home from school and saw this cake you made, and you just imagine and visualize, what their expressions would be. I think we can all agree that our thinking can get hindered with deep hurts, and substance abuse can cause mind altering, even like I said, with properly prescribed medications. And we've heard people say, I don't know what's going on with me. I can't think straight.
Mm.
What are they saying? They could be saying, I'm not able to focus. I'm not able to have clear thinking. And thought, it could be with their thought process and so on. You probably heard people going off on rabbit trails. Sometimes I've done that, which means they're going off topic. And their mind suddenly connects with something they've visualized and they want to share it. So if these causes hinder us to an extent that we have thoughts filled with negative emotions, or we feel groggy or unusually drowsy and so on, then logically speaking, can there be substances that will help with our brain health, which can in turn help clear our brain fog or improve focus, memory, um, and even quick recall, and improve emotional well-being at the same time. And when it comes to putting an oil under your nose, research has shown that each compound in each oil does help support many body functions, including removing whatever blockages there are in the brain, whether it's emotional or memory. I remember in some accident cases, um, in, in semi or full comas, they regain consciousness. When tested, they could recall and answer questions clearly when they had given them some oils, certain oils to smell and applied on them.
Mhm.
So they can be very
Okay.
useful.
Right, all right. So that's kind of a summary of how, even physically speaking, the essential oils can help us visualize and help us with that part of our being. But okay, what about the term longevity? Or Young Living even has some products that are called longevity. So can a plant create longevity? What are we supposed to think about that?
I guess one person felt like, the objection is, how can a new plant make you look younger with longevity? But there's much medical research about gut health. And all health begins in the gut, some of them have said. And if your intestinal tract is healthy, with good flora, there will be little or no inflammation, and you're in pretty good shape. And having been in Asia for quite a while, I found it difficult to guess people's ages because they eat so much fermented food, and even those, if they're in their 70s and 80s, they look like they're in their 50s and 60s.
Right.
So, and they also eat a lot of hot pepper sauces.
Okay.
Of every kind, and it keeps their intestinal tract healthy and in good shape than their Western counterparts. So when people don't understand that the oils in longevity help achieve that goal, then they tend to mock the manufacturer and out of ignorance, I would say. And peace and calming is another one. Say, how can an oil help your kids behave? You may have come across articles that show how violent movies or video games have changed behavior of young people. And alcohol can be another example that can cause some people to get violent. And that goes back to simple logic again. If there are substances that cause people to be violent or even think violently, are there not substances on this earth that can have a relaxing effect after a stressful day? Or just because the name sounds offensive, we don't take the trouble to read for ourselves. And we tend to want to throw everything out the window. So let's not be hasty with our ignorance and judgment and or inconsistencies in our thinking.
Okay, so that we covered longevity and peace and calming, which are some names of some different essential oil blends. But what about the essential oil called valor? Can plants give you valor? What should we think?
And I guess in the description it says it supports your energy alignment in your body. Well, have you had tired days Have you had days when you were filled with energy? Could what you ate or stress be, caused you to either have the lack of energy or a feeling of well-being? What can valor do? Well, it can jumpstart your cells. So, and get them going so that if you're bouncing off the walls, it'll bring the level down to normal so you don't feel so wound up. And if you're feeling too tired, it will just give you a little boost energy wise. And have you ever had to balance the wheels of your car or have the mechanic align the steering so that the steering wheel doesn't pull to one side? So why do we let ourselves get out of whack when we hear these words? As I mentioned in my emotional part 2 series class, if these words are not pleasing to you, use ones that help your understanding. In another country, they may give it a different name like chi or chakra. Just ignore those names if it makes no sense to you. Each country has names for even bread. Some call it tortilla, some call it chapati, or roti or flatbread. You get the picture?
Okay. You're right. I've definitely had to rethink some words myself as I've learned more about kind of how some of the things that have been given different meanings really do have physiological created reasons and bases in our bodies. So some things that people ascribe to maybe mystical purposes really do have a physical basis that God made. So I think that's really exciting to see how those different names actually make sense. So one last thing that I just wanted to cover in a kind of our last section here is we've talked a lot about some of the fiction about essential oils. So what are some of the facts about essential oils that you can leave us with as we finish this up tonight?
Okay. Where does quality and purity start? With the broker? With the vendor? With salespeople? With labs or chemists? What determines a genuine therapeutic essential oil? First, we want to start with the proper seed species. How do you know you have the proper plant species unless you are the grower or working with the grower, right? So what is the origin of the seed? How do you know that the seed is not GMO? You just can't find the seed and plant it and grow it and distill and expect to have a great therapeutic grade oil. Young Living does not take its seed to seal promise lightly. To produce an oil that's in harmony with the body and to provide benefits in every way, it has to have proper cultivation, nutrients, the crop rotation, and these are most helpful to maintain good, healthy soil and to produce healthy plants. If not, the unhealthy plants will produce substandard oils, which are often cut and restructured with synthetic compounds to look like a pure oil, and hence the low cost. These oils are sold as perfume grade oils. You find them in household goods or cosmetics and cleaning supplies. And many manufacturers make nature identical oils entirely in the lab. And those too are used in cosmetics and food flavoring. Most seed is commercially grown in nurseries in a controlled environment subject to climatic changes. This usually produces a genetically weak plant, which will in turn produce low quality oils. So harshness of nature develops strength in the plant's immune system. And that is passed into the oil molecules. That's why Young Living has 9 farms all over the world and is the only company that can see it oversees the oil right from seed to seal. And so which means, right, so you get all that in the bottle. They oversee all the steps. Over 5 million tons of compost are annually spread on the fields, and natural liquid fertilizer from worm castings also provide good nutrients. Commercial sprays are not used on any essential oil crops. in Young Living. Young Living goes to great lengths to determine perfect time for harvesting crops to produce the best quality oil. I could go on about this, but it takes additional time. And I have seen all of these with my own eyes. Adulterated oils are much more difficult to detect on a gas chromatograph or mass spectrometer or spectroscopy instrument, because these instruments can't determine if the molecule is synthetic or natural. Only knowledgeable analytical scientists and chemists who are world authorities like Dr. Harvey Casablanca and Dr. Richard Carlson can determine with specific instruments. They are the optical rotation and the HPLC, which is the high performance liquid chromatograph instrument. And a trained nose, of course, like Gary Young, he can determine the ratios, I mean, right down to percentages of the essential oil compounds, and can even detect if there's anything synthetic in that. So no supply can fool him. Maybe over here we can show the comparison of Young Living's ylang ylang to the one from a supplier in Madagascar. I'll just take a few compounds to show you the difference. And while it's coming up, ancient times, people valued essential oils as medicine and also prized them for flavors and fragrances. But with time, people became more interested and even obsessed with flavors and fragrances. And as time progressed, producers changed the processing, and this led to widespread adulteration of genuine oils, which was sad. So right here on this chart, if you can see methyl benzoate, see how strong that component is in Young Living's brand, which that's from Ecuador, and which inhibits and protects healthy lung cells from being bombarded and mutated. Alpha humulene is another compound that helps support healthy cells with water balance and protects healthy cells from necrosis, which is death of cell, and maintains healthy prostaglandin balance and healthy prostate and bladder. So here are some examples, and that makes a big difference if the levels are not right. Young Living goes to great lengths in distilling process, right from the volume of steam so that the oils don't get homogenized, and special attention is given not to fracture the molecules as well. Not only that, what is the right temperature for each plant in the cooker to get the maximum extraction without damaging the oils and rendering them commercial grade? You want to show the next slide. Here's a summary of the market that most people would term essential oils, which show that a good portion of available products termed aromatherapy are not essential oils, as they are not in their natural, pure, and unadulterated form, as you can see in the slide. With 33 years of R&D in essential oils that Gary Young has behind him, no other company in the world has such a history of R&D or has brought more research, education, discovery, and published more papers and books or created more formulas and supplements with essential oils than Young Living. Not 1 or 10 companies combined. The purpose of this here is to help educate so you can make an educated decision and feel free from worry of having to put toxic stuff into your body or your family members. So you and your family are so worth it to have the best that you can find.
Wow. Well, that was really exciting to see those different comparisons. And I know that that was something that I've learned so much, is the huge difference that it makes to have something that's truly pure and therapeutic grade. So that was really refreshing to hear about those facts about essential oils. But thank you. And then thank you also to all of the viewers and everyone who's participating in the online class. We would love it if you would now go onto the Facebook page and mention something that stood out to you from the class today. And we'll be having the giveaway at the end, so you'll have a few minutes to jump on there and just mention something that stood out to you. we will be sending a bottle of essential oil to the random winner after the class. And that, by the way, is for US viewers only because we have international shipping policies with the oils. But the oil that we're going to give away today is a special one. Do you want to talk to us about it a little bit?
Well, should we give the name away? It's Common Sense.
Right. Now, when I saw, this is one of those names that I was like, what? So Common Sense in a bottle, but.
Well, it just helps for brain health.
Yes.
And so it'll function better.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's going to give you common sense, but it's just for brain health. So
Right.
don't let that name trip you
Right.
up. It's just purely to maintain your brain health, and you'll be happier for it.
Right. Great. Well, good. Thank you again so much. Feel free, I'll put the slide up here for the last slide to go onto either Facebook or onto theessentialway.com/contact. You can always contact us there. If you don't have Facebook or whatever, feel free to go onto our website and leave us a message there, send us an email, and we'd love to hear from you. So thank you all so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the new class.
Thank you all.
Bye now.